Salut survivors! Welcome back to SolutOdka channel in Medieval Dynasty Guide series. Today is a new episode of the series, Is It Worth It? We previously tackled together the Sewing Hut Tier 1, and in today's episode our focus will be the Sewing Hut Tier 2, in order to assess if we can get better income from our raw materials. Of particular interest will be to see if we can get better income from our linen production, as if you recall in the previous episode the results were mediocre, to say the least, since the best linen income was not from the Sewing Hut Tier 1, but it was from the fishing spears at the smithy. Also quite interesting is that with the Tier 2, the sheep's wool produce can now be utilized to craft new garments. What will be the best income for our wool then? Therefore, for the Sewing Hut Tier 2 video guide, I will split it into two parts. Part 1, comparative analysis of all the recipes, as usual. Part 2, my assessment and recommendations. If you have any question or suggestion, please do not hesitate to leave a message in the comment section down below.
Today's fashion is crazy. What's next? Comfortable clothes?
I'm not sure which building will follow next. Perhaps a kitchen Tier 2? Do not hesitate to let me know your preferred interest in the comments. Now, let's go straight to the video. So, before we do a little bit of crafting together, let's, as usual, go through the comparative analysis in the table format. By now, you know the rules and the different hypotheses on how these comparisons are done. Maybe here to be mentioned is from the past experience as a Sewing Hut Tier 1, where we did a version A, a version B. Here I didn't waste time, I went straight for the version B as a Sewing Hut 2 comparison. So what is the version B? Is that in order to compare the cost of items for the wool fabric and the linen fabric, since we only need one thread each every time to produce one fabric, I do not consider the value of the fabric. However, I consider the value of the thread in order to compare items. So, since we had before already all the Sewing Hut 1 products, for comparison's sake I left it here so we can use it for us to compare if need be. And then we have here our Sewing Hut Tier 2 products. As you can see, a lot of green, right? A lot of good products. So we have more than 7 items here with 150% profit and above. But we have 2 items that are really sticking out. It is a hose with 2 linen thread, 1 linen fabric, 1 wool fabric for a 453% profit, and the joined hose for 1 linen thread, 1 linen fabric, and 2 wool fabrics for 428%. They respectively have a value of 670 and 920. Therefore, these 2 items are blatantly really interesting. Now, what is not really good is, for example, the saddlebag, simple backpack, pouch are not extremely interesting. On my end, I purchased all these items early in the game from the vendors, and I think it's the right thing to do. There is no point to wait until later to craft it yourself, to be honest, because the price to buy the recipe, is probably not making it financially interesting to do. However, we can see numerous good items. So from there, we'll go into the part 2 and my assessment and recommendation. So, for this part 2, we are going to compare the value you can obtain from your different raw materials and the evolution from the Sewing Hut Tier 1 to the Sewing Hut Tier 2. Now, as you remember, for the linen fabric or the linen thread, we only had a 40 coins value per item at the Sewing Hut. However, from the fishing spear at the smithy, we had a 90 value per linen thread. Therefore, the Sewing Hut was not really interesting to make money from your flax, from your linen. So the big question is, as a Tier 2, what can we expect? While many items are actually not much better, we can get up to 50 value per linen in average, but 2 items stand out, and that's the 2 that we noticed earlier. That's the hose and the joined hose. And we can establish to have around 100 coins value per linen thread, and this is assuming that we have a wool thread and a wool fabric at 360 to 370 value per wool thread. Why is it like that? Let me show you. So the hose will be a total of 3 linen and 1 wool. So if you have the linen at 100 and the wool at 360 or 370, then you will have the total of 670. And the join hose, for which you will utilize 2 linen and 2 wool. Therefore, with 2 linen and 2 wool, 2 times 100 plus 2 times 360 or 720, you have your 920. So if you resolve these equations, it's around 100 per linen and around 360 to 370 for the wool. It is slightly better on the hose compared to the joined hose. However, comparing the hose and the joined hose, it depends on your production. If you produce a good ratio of wool compared to your linen, then you can consider to do the joined hose. But we can assume that at that stage of the game, you produce a lot of flax, a lot of linen, and you have a smaller production of wool. Therefore, I think the hose is more interesting because you get the highest value for your wool, 1, and 2, you utilize only 1 wool per hose compared to 2 wool per joined hose. While for the linen, it's probably the same, you get around 100 per item. Therefore, the hose and joined hose are really the two with the two best values. They permit to beat by a little bit the fishing spear in terms of the value of the linen thread. Now when it comes to the other resources, for the leather, we had a previous 20 value per leather. We don't have much better here. Straw, we don't use straw anymore at the tier 2. For the fur, there is a slight increase from before we had an estimated around 5 coins per fur value. Now we can say it's around 7.5 if you consider the fur hood that gives you the best value for your fur. But it's still not really great. There is no fantastic fur business as of now. Maybe at the sewing hut tier 3, I don't know, but now here it is at the sewing hut tier 2. So let's do a little bit of crafting together to give you an idea. I prepared here some raw materials, our 30 wool fabric, 30 linen fabric, and 60 linen thread. And let's make a couple of hose together. Oh, excuse me, Moldo Beer. Can you please free the table? Thank you very much. So the trousers, hose, let's make 30 hose and let's see the value. So it should be around 30 times 670, so close to 20,000 in value. Of course, with the barter skill, I'll get probably only 60% of that. And I'm bartering skill 2 now, so 70%, so around 14k coins, what we just crafted together. Where is it? Hose, yes. 30 hoses, 670 per hose, so around 20,000 coins in value, these 30 hoses, which will represent an income on the market to around 14,000 coins. Basically, it's paying more than my taxes. What's my taxes now? Yes, I need to pay my taxes, almost 12,000. And basically, these 30 houses will pay the taxes of the year for our entire village. I hope you enjoyed this new Is It Worth It analysis video, and you will find good ways to get income from your sheep's wool. On that note, let's toast to the like and subscribe buttons. I appreciate very much the support. Thank you for watching and see you in my next videos. Cheers!